Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Tonight, we are going to do something a little bit interesting. There's a PR out on the material design project from Nikolai. We're going to get that reviewed and merged. I kind of glanced at it a little bit earlier, so it should be a pretty easy one. But then I've got an old WPF app. This is something I originally built 7, 8 years ago. It has been actually maybe more like 4 years ago if I'm looking at the GitHub, but I started it like 6 years ago. So I'm looking at timestamps. It's old. And it could use an update. And so I think a good portion of tonight's stream is going to be dedicated to kind of, we'll say, modernizing a very old WPF application. So let's dive in. There we go. So we're going to start here on this fix 3799. So let's see, pull request section. Be big. Be big. Let's see, review code. So this here, and in this particular case, Nikolai calls out the issue in question. Let me go here. So this is the feature and effectively the enhancement. So at this point, the idea is dealing with the tab stop of the reveal button in the password box. Now, the password box in WPF is kind of awkward because it was written at a time when secure string was still something to be used inside of .NET. If you're unaware that its use is not recommended, unfortunately, that doesn't change older APIs like password box. The material design project does have a nice little reveal button and an attach property, kind of lets strings flow through nicely as you might hope for and work with, but it doesn't quite change everything. But that's what this little reveal button here is designed to do, is to be able to go through and show it. So Nikolai has a desire to deal with the tab stop on this button, and aside from retemplating the control, that was all that was available. So that is what this is. So AP in this case is just an abbreviation for attached property. And you can see kind of with these things set up. So we will take a look here at what this is. So one way to be able to get changes to occur inside of a control template in WPF is with an attached property. Effectively, you want to add a property to a control that doesn't exist. In this one here, adding the isReveal button tab stop, which is named fairly appropriately. And this is one of those awkward situations, right, where there's not a great way to do this in WPF. There is no clear way, unlike with something like Avalonia, where once it's inside of a control template, modifying just a portion of the control template is very difficult. You end up having to throw away the whole template or get the control template author to add in some switch or hook for you, which is exactly what this attached property is, right? So this is a fairly basic attached property, defaults to true, specifically here because tab stop defaults to true before, and so if the attached property didn't default that way, we would be questioning where the default is. Another way that we often do defaults is we will, rather than changing it here, which is what this framework property metadata true is doing, this is the default value, is sometimes we'll just set it here, and then up on the style itself, we will just set a default value of it to have that flow through. Both work just fine. It really depends on discoverability and what you're looking for it. It is interesting here that this thing was set to inherits. I don't know that we need it set to inherits because this thing is specifically looking up for it on the templated parent. So it doesn't really need to inherit down. And then a nice UI test to go along with it. I think it's a fairly simple, straightforward change. I think what we are going to do is, because I assume Nikolai's been waiting on this for 3 days now. So let's do this. Let's just pull this thing down because I'm fairly confident this thing is going to studio over here. I'm fairly confident if we just change that inherits, the test is still going to pass just fine. let's go do that real quick, and then we'll just merge it. Because I'm assuming that was probably just a small copy and paste error. Pass word box assist, and then is reveal stuff. Because I don't think we actually need this. We can probably actually just do property metadata. Because you only need framework property metadata if you are actually going to override one of the extra stuff on here. But in our case, I don't think we actually needed to. So we'll just bring that one down. And then let's go run the UI test really quick. Since Nikolai very conveniently left us one to run. My keyboard shortcuts on there. I realized I was coding with a colleague the other day, and he saw me do the collapse all and was very shocked to find that there was a keyboard shortcut for it. So Control MO is the defaults unless you've changed your keyboard layout to something else, or have something like ReSharper or whatnot installed. I don't know what the default key bindings are in that case. But the important part is there is a command for it, and it can be bound to a keystroke. That is one of the best / worst things of Visual Studio is all of the bindings are configurable, which allows for a huge amount of customization and also a huge amount of frustration for some people. Let's see. I didn't see what the result of that was. Ooh, hello. Oh, never mind. It just, I had a pass test failure in this case. This one succeeded. Yay! Let's see. Let's put my big head on the left. There we go. So something like removing the inherits since it does not appear to be needed. Nikolai doesn't hate me too much for that. Push that out, and then we will go through and do add review, review changes, approve, approve. There was an interesting question that came through on one of the discussions on the material design project, and something that comes up every so often is people ask about, oh, you know, when's the next release coming, because they're real anxious to, you know, pick up some change or new feature or whatnot. And I don't think people realize that I publish nightly NuGet feeds or nightly NuGet releases. So every night where there is a change to the library, there is a NuGet package that goes out. And you'll note a pattern here, right? Right? 21 days, 14 days, 7 days. Guess when I've been working on the project? About every Thursday night, give or take. So shockingly, so the nice part here though is it means that if you want to grab a feature, you shouldn't have to wait more than 24 hours. And there should be a NuGet package out there with it, assuming nothing's gone wrong. But then it allows you to test these things out. And in terms of quality, the only difference between the preview packages and the full releases, I'm a little more fast and loose about merging PRs on previews if we aren't about to push something out, but everything still has to pass all the same tests. It's just occasionally I've merged things in and then gone, this is going to be problematic, or reverted it. And so if people are trying out preview builds, I love hearing about it. Like you can see there's clearly some amount of people that pull latest preview builds here, which is awesome. But then usually just like a quick pass through the demo app, and then I ship the full one. So there's not a lot of difference in quality between a preview and a full release. So, and then we just rock and roll out the door, and away we go. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so there's that. Let's see. This is Velopack. This is something for later. Okay, so I have a repository, and we're gonna start with a disclaimer, and then we're gonna go from there. Okay, so anybody who wants to follow along from home here, right? Okay, so before I get messages on this, because I don't doubt at least one person is going to message me, this is the video we are going to be playing with. This video is A, my own, B, licensed with Creative Commons. Okay? So I'm going to completely skip all of the weird legality around YouTube downloading. We're just going to ignore that for a moment and restrict ourselves to just using my content. Specifically, my content that I have licensed under Creative Commons. So I am cleared to download it 2 ways over. Okay? Just so we're clear on that. Before doing anything with YouTube downloaders, you should consult the legality and all of the licensing terms from YouTube and your local jurisdiction. Okay, now that that's out of the way. So we have this guy here. So this is a nice SDK put out by Tyrese. Tyrese, I'm probably butchering the screen name, and I think he's Ukrainian. Yeah, Kiev. Um, so he has this awesome library around going through and using it to interact with YouTube's API, which is pretty cool. Right? And so there's all this kind of stuff here, and it's got a cool demo app and all that stuff. So a long, long time ago, when I was messing around with my streaming stuff, I had a desire to be able to pull my videos and do stuff with them. And so I built this app. This app is very, very old. I think up until recently, I hadn't touched it in like 4 or 5 years. Okay, so this is old .NET framework, right? And I'll launch it here, right? You can tell it's not even. This is before I was doing material design. That's how old this is. That's how like MVVM Lite, which is now deprecated, modern UI. I don't even know if this. Yeah, the link to this the UI framework I'm using is dead now. Like that's how old this stuff is. It's on .NET framework, yada yada yada. Okay, so I recently went through and revved the NuGet packages because I couldn't even compile the sucker anymore, which was annoying me. But the goal here is to go through and update it, right? And it's using old frame stuff and it has this weird back button and that kind of thing. But the short version is you hit find video, right? It does some stuff. There's no progress indicator because that would make sense and be simple and straightforward. And hopefully it actually works. I don't even know if it's going to work. There we go. Found something, right? Pulls back some stuff. You can pick some stuff. Then you can hit the downloading button and we're off to the races, right? Great. Fine. This was built back with an older version of that YouTube Explode library, so this whole thing just doesn't work, right? More importantly, the entire old deployment of this sucker, if I still have the thing open, right? There was published out with Clunk once, or Click once, as people will call it. I prefer to call it Clunk once. And it was pushing out to YouTube and using YouTube as a hosting thing and not even posting into the releases, just straight pushing into the repository, right? Garbage. Don't do this. This is bad. This is past Kevin. Past Kevin was an idiot. We don't trust him, right? So we are going to revamp and update this library. Now, there's a couple ways you can go through and do with this. One option so the other thing you'll note, I'm on the old CS proj format, right? So and you can tell really quickly if you're on an old CS proj, if you double click, if it collapses and expands, you're on the old format. If it opens the editor for it, you're on the new one. Because the old one, you couldn't even edit in place. You have to unload the project and then you can edit it. And you can start to see in here all of kind of the yucky stuff that goes along with all of this nastiness and whatnot that's in here, right? So, first decision point that we need to make is how do we want to go through and update this? Part of me is really tempted to just do a side by side and pull the stuff forward because we could run like the .NET updater on this, right? So what is it? And this is or I'm sorry, upgrade assistant. My mistake, right? Let's see. Why is my copier not? like it needs. That is anyway. People who are interested, .NET Upgrade Assistant. So you can run this. It's like an 80% solution. It will try to migrate your code as best it can. The problem is it's intended to bring you up to like latest C# projects and latest C# by keeping everything the same, right? Sort of like doing a refactor. You want to end in the same place that you started, with everything kind of being equal and on par with where it's going, which is fine, but not quite always what we're going for, right? Like that works, but better, do better. And ideally, what I would like to do is I like my repositories. So I have my .NET templates library, right? I like this. This restructures WPF apps. I specifically have a WPF app template in here that lays out a template for WPF app that is much more in line with what I want. So it has centralized package management, build props, all the things, right? That is what we are going for. What do we got going on here? Let's see here. I didn't realize I had PRs open on open PRs on this. So I apologize to everybody who's waiting on this. So really been proven run workflows. We'll let that go. I really been committed to other repositories of mine before. So we will trust that for a moment, but this will be a worthwhile thing to check out. But I will put that on the pin for later. So I think the way that I want to approach this is effectively 2 clones of the repository, and just pull files from point A to point B, right? Just bring stuff in and update it one step at a time, and then go from there. I think that's the way I want to approach this, because in my case, I don't want an arbitrary migration. I want something that's a little more exact. So what we are going to do for that is we are going to leverage a work tree, right? So we are going to, let's see, where's the create work tree? Create work tree from origin master. Great. And so a work tree is very similar to having a second clone of your repository. It's in a different directory, right? So you'll note this here is my current directory. It adds on a .worktrees and then the name of the branch. So this is functionally, if I go to look in this and explore where this new one is going to live, and then the branch we are going to create is upgrade, right? And you can see it renames the folder down there. So we're going to create a work tree. Open work tree now. Yes, please. So you will note this ends up once it does the needful. Oh, and hopefully having Visual Studio open doesn't cause it grief, right? So one key thing to note inside to get cracking is this little tree icon here, right? We are on a work tree. Yeah. We also have, and I'm going to move right for a moment. We also have work trees here. So if we want to switch back and forth between our master and our work tree, we are one click, or I should say one double click away from doing that. But if we do Alt O, you will note this now opens us up into the work tree folder. I think that was broken in like version 10.6. This was a recent fix, where if you were on a work tree and you did the open in file manager, it would actually get you the root of the repository, not this one, which was like, that's mildly annoying. But I now have a place where we can effectively bring stuff over and copy into without needing to change it. Now, I am going to do something very, very big and abusive. So if we look at my templates repository, we have this guy here. So we are going to start by running that, which I should already have it installed, right? So this ensures that I am updated. You can also run .NET new update, and this will make sure all your template packages are up to date, which mine are. Huzzah! Great. And now I've got my new templates that I can go through and do. We look at the WPF one, we can see it's just .NET new Kaboo WPF. Great. Huzzah! So this terminal you'll note is not in the work tree location, right? So that is. What if I close and open it if it's smart enough to do that? Not. Hmm. That'd be kind of cool if it switched. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Data whack. Let's see. YouTube downloader work trees upgrade. Boom. Okay. Now we're in the right place. So we are going to run that command, but this is going to cause us grief because the files are going to conflict, right? If I go to run it, it says, "Oh no, we're going to overwrite files. Are you sure you want to do this?" Yes. Just like how you do a dot force in Git, we can do a force here. Poof, force the overwrite. So we now pick up a huge number of changes. And I'm realizing they are all immediately wrong because we didn't give it a name, so it has overlapped in the wrong possible way. So we're gonna reset and just try this again. So specifically, we want to give this thing a name so that actually creates YouTube Downloader. With .NET New, if you don't feed it a name, it'll default to the name of the directory. Because I named my branch upgrade and GitKraken names the folder for that work tree for the branch same way, upgrade, I'm getting that behavior. So dash dash name, and then we're going to call it YouTube Downloader. This should conflict with a lot more files. I hope. Oh, this nested it down one directory. Oh, that's kind of funny. Huh. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to then open an external editor. Why am I? Oh, I'm hitting Alt-E, not Alt-O. And I am just going to pull this sucker up because this guy went down one too far. How do I? You know what? We're going to do this. Then I'm going to rerun the command. Ah! Kraken? Just happened. Just happened, Kraken. What? It closed. Did it think I deleted the work tree? Remove this work tree. Oh, because I deleted. Oh, I deleted the .git folder and it lost its mind. Ahaha. Okay, so if you the .git file is what links you back to the source repository. So if you delete this .git file, you've broken the link back to your source repository. Don't do that. We're gonna do this instead. There we go. Let's try this again. There we go. Which is better? Let's see here. And it thinks we are deleting everything. Oh, and it did it. Oh, it's not in the right directory yet. Oh man, I'm just botching this left and right. I am botching this left and right. I didn't change directory. Go back to master. It's probably gonna have a bunch of changes. Yep. Whack that. Go back to my work tree. Okay. I will be sending feedback to GitKraken later. I would really like it if my terminal would follow that. Okay. Let's try this now. There we go. So we've got a bunch of deletions and new project template, and that should get us closer. It is worth noting this one here is going to be the old Visual Studio. So we are going to go Control Shift E to pop a new Visual Studio open in hopefully the directory. Yes, this one says upgrade up here. That's the important part. You see, this is down a directory, and I think I want to pull everything up. So before I get too carried away, I'm going to go down here, cut, paste, and bring you up a layer. There. That's more like what I want. Now, this should be a default WPF application. So let's see, close material design. So right is new, left is old, and I'm going to leave the test project sitting there for no other reason other than it'll make my life easier to acknowledge this. I'm going to make sure it launches, which it should because this is my default project template. We're going to rev our NuGets, and then we're going to rock and roll on updating from the old stuff. Okay. Default project, it works, everyone's happy. Huzzah. So we're going to do a quick commit here. Save point. Let's see. Big head to the left. Let's see here. We're going to say updating to default WPF template. Okay. And let's continue. Okay. So first thing we want to do is we want to start, or I guess let's rev our NuGet packages before I get too carried away, because I want to make sure I've got latest of all the things. And I know there's some packages that are behind. So select all packages. Yeah, latest on everything. Full send. I should publish a new version of my package so that I don't get bit by this. Was your problem? Let's see. System text.json to 902. Do I not have text.json explicitly referenced? Do. I kind of wonder why I need it explicitly referenced. Are you referencing it? No. Are you referencing it? Nope. I don't know why I've explicitly pinned that one. I'm going to let it float, make my upgrade easier for the moment. Because that was the problem, is we're revving these packages, but that particular version would have needed to rev to 902. I probably did it to mitigate a vulnerability at one point, because adding a package to your centralized package management, this allows for transitive pinning. So, for example, if one of these libraries, say coverlet, uses system text.json, but 604 allows for an older version of older version of system text.json that has a vulnerability. If you reference it here with a version, that'll just bring it all forward, even if your project doesn't necessarily directly reference it. It allows it to float. So that gets us all updated. Huzzah. Great. I'm going to just actually pretend like that always was there. Amend previous commit. Amend. Poof. Perfect. I saw no mistakes. Great. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab, I think potentially the view model. Even the structure of this old app is very different than what I would typically end up building now. There's not a lot of normal EDI stuff. There's a lot of these old school ways of the MVVI view model base, which this was a fine way of doing this in ye olden days. But it is not kind of the typical way we might go about it now. And you'll note I've got a download page and about page. So you can see here we've got a dialog service, which we're going to do something with. But we've got kind of what's called the download view model is actually kind of the main page window view model. And then we've got an about page here. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to structure this app a little bit differently. We're still going to have the main download page, but I think we're going to throw the about into a dialog, maybe underneath a menu. And then we'll do the download progress in a dialog as well and call that a day. So if we look at our new one here, let's get some UI kind of laid out, and then we will go through and bring the code over. So this already has a view model structured for me right out of the gate, and it has a file exit, and then it has a clear count. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to change this to about, because that's kind of where we're going to go with this. And call this show about. We'll fix it in the view model in a second. For people who aren't familiar with this kind of underscore thing, these are for accelerator keys. When you hold down the Alt key, like you'll notice even up at the top on my Visual Studios, when I press Alt, for example, the accelerator key for Analyze is N, the accelerator for Tools is T, X. So if you go like Alt N, it'll open Analyze, right? And then you can continue down. So it's kind of just a quick way of doing it. Inside of WPF, we specify those things with an underscore in front. just as a way to be able to go through and do it. We're going to just whack this entire bit of code here. I don't think we need multiple. We only really are going to need 2 rows here. We're going to have the menu at the top, followed by the main content underneath. I think we're going to wrap this entire grid in a dialog host, though. Yeah. So dialog host, but I have to spell it correctly. We're going to typically make that the root. Let's see here. You are going to be unhappy because I did not give you the material design naming, and I can grab the namespace here. I'm going to cheat. Bring. So this is actually going to be material design dialog host. There we go. That gets us into there. And so we're going to have the dialog host just cover everything. And I think what we might do is actually style static resource. We're going to use the embedded dialog host for now. The regular one uses a pop-up control, but I kind of like the embedded one in a lot of cases. And then a default height width of 450. We're going to change this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. So for the view model, what we've done is we've changed the one command in here to show about. We will come in here, and this needs to be called show about. We don't need a can execute. We don't need any of that. We're not going to use any of this data. Roll that away. Then this needs just the relay command attribute to generate the appropriate bit. All that goes away. Bippity boppity booyah. We're done. Okay. Okay, so that gets us something here. This thing should eventually figure out what it's thinking once the source generators run, because show about. And you can, I personally have a preference for prefixing my execution methods with the word on, and then I assume this is all about, yeah, this. We're just going to delete this test file. We're not even going to worry about it. Okay, there we go. That gets us there. That gets us the show about. Now let's start actually bringing in some of the more interesting content. So the about window here, we're going to need, I think, most of the stuff from this view model. So I'm going to just kind of copy paste this into my main window view model, and then we are going to start ripping it apart. We'll go here, and then we're just going to paste, and then we're going to have to deal with some stuff. So this has iDialog service. I'm trying to decide if we keep this or not. We do not need these relay commands because those are no longer relevant to us. I'm mildly tempted. The main reason for having an iDialog service is for testability. So if we want to go that route, it might not be a bad idea. We can consider bringing it forward. And I'm going to change this naming up to be a lowercase d to align with my editor config. Okay, the relay commands, we aren't going to need those. And this thing here was just kind of a dirty little trick that was convenient. Is it when the view model is created, it just reads off the clipboard to see if there is a URI on the clipboard. It will go ahead and read that and then set that as the backing data in here. So we will start with here, and we're going to do that and set that equal, and then we don't need this construct anymore. Okay, next thing is that we immediately run into is needing this iStream info. So this is actually going to come from the NuGet package that was being referenced over here. Oh, wait. Let's see here. So we want this YouTube explode here is what we are after. So we're just going to copy that. Come over here, manage NuGet packages. Grab him. And we may end up grabbing that converter as well at a later point, but for now we're just going for feature parity. We're just looking to upgrade. All right, so that should get us here. And then this brings in the needful, and then we can actually go new or C# even and just do this. And then so this is target type new, and then we have collection expressions, which is just the double square braces. So all of those things were equal. We do not need either of these anymore, because if we come down here, we can just do relay command. And this is coming from the MVVM community toolkit with the source generators. If you are unfamiliar with those, go check out my video on it. This YouTube URL, and you'll note one of the things is my old library didn't even have nullable reference types turned on. So that's one thing I'm keeping an eye out for, is checking if something should be nullable. We can make this observable property, which means we no longer need any of this stuff, but you'll note this property, when it changed, it was marking this find video command, raise can execute change. We're just going to go notify can execute changed for, and then it's going to be name of find video command. It won't find it yet because we haven't decorated everything up with it yet, but we can now delete all of that code. Same thing with this title. Observable property, we can make him nullable. And that will gen out an entire title property for us. Selected video, same thing, nullable. We can just kill this off. You'll note this one changes the download file command, so we will do the notify can execute change for. Copilot is showing off, which we love. Go AI overlords, please remember me when you take over the world. Let's see. Audio only is downloading. Now this one we may not need anymore. Let's take a quick gander at how it was used previously. I say that we may not need it anymore because the community toolkit's commands have a property to tell you if the command is currently executing, which is often what I would use something like this is downloading for. We're just going to hunt this guy real quick. Oh, is downloading is not referenced in the view model? Interesting. Interesting. Is it referenced? It is not referenced anywhere. Great. So we're just going to burn that to the ground. Wonderful. Okay, YouTube client. This should be the new guy here. Same with this video ID. We can go target type new on this guy. Oh, interesting, Izzy. I did not intentionally change anything. Now you're making me wonder if I messed something up. I was mucking with things earlier, but yeah, I don't think I did. I'll double check and make sure. Usually, though, notifications are left on your side of the fence, not on mine. But I didn't like change any boxes or anything. I don't think I did. Okay, my dialog service has a show error. We'll see what we want to do with this. Let's see here. So this is can find video. So to do the can execute handlers, we do can execute and we give it a name of. It's just hard to type. And find video. Done. This guy here is walking at me, telling me it can be static. It probably wants an expression body member. Let's see here. And then this is async void, and this should really be async task now. Before, it was kind of a thing that you ended up having to do because of the old commands didn't have a async overload, because you kind of have to wrap an async method in a synchronous one, which is kind of yucky. But no longer is that the case. Okay, and then these parameters really should be nullable. It's rare that you have a command parameter that's not nullable, because the command parameter outside of here is always possible to be null. I'm doing a bang here, a null forgiveness operator, only because my can execute, because this guy is technically nullable, but my can execute here prevents it. So unless I invoke that method directly, which you generally don't want to do. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'm going to use this as an expression body member. I'm going to put him down below the other one. There. And then this guy needs to be a relay command. He needs to have a can execute. He needs to have a nullable thingy-mabobber. And then we're going to once again just null forgiveness our way to victory here. Okay, and now this is something, this is all bad. Bad. Past Kevin was an idiot. So you can see here this dialog was, or this view model was instantiating UI objects all the way through here. So like this, yeah, we're just not going to do any of this. In fact, we're going to comment this whole thing out because we're going to need to change up the flow of this, because doing view model or view stuff inside your view model is yucky, bad. Okay. Boom. Oh boy, Izzy. Fire away. But when you're saying it may not be possible, that always gives me a bit of pause. Because usually that means you're about to throw some wacky curveball at me. Okay, so let's grab the... We're going to grab the dialog service that I had made before. And I might just bring it forward. Oh, this dialogs... Oh, this is the dialog service for MVVM Lite. Oh, this isn't even mine. This is an old school one. Oh, this is interesting then. Do I care? Do I care? Okay. Hierarchy of types generated by xsdgen.net tool. Okay. So you're doing potentially something with like WSDL or something. Sounds fun. Okay, so I'm going to comment out these dialog service calls for the moment, because I'm now questioning if I actually want them. Because now that I realize where this interface was coming from, it made sense back when I was building this on MVVM Lite, but I'm not sure it makes sense now. Let's see. The classes have iNotify property changed in observable collections. Okay. So it's effectively generating you a binding friendly class. I get twitchy about that, I'll be honest. I tend to subscribe, because like even Entity Framework can do that too. Hey, Magnivo. And oftentimes I find when my model level objects become binding friendly, you want to treat them like view model objects, and they aren't. It just gets weird. It's weird. So oftentimes I'll even tell Entity Framework, hey, don't do the notify property change, then change it. Let's see. I have a top level class and observable property in my view model. Okay, so you've got like main window view model. It's got a property. I'm kind of suspicious of where this is going, Izzy. I think your question might need to change from "is this possible" to "should you do this?" Because that I suspect is going to be the next one. Okay, now that we've got this, let's do maybe our about view model. Right, so something I've favored a little bit more is keeping my views and view models near each other. So we're going to do that because I find that to be a little bit nicer. Let's see. I'm then binding to subproperties in my XAML, binding a.b, okay? Which is totally fine to do as long as A and B have iNotify property changed, which I believe you just said they did. Because without it, you have the potential of binding leaks, which is all kinds of exciting. Let's see. Observable. Well, I don't even know if this needs to be an observable object, honestly. We'll see what we actually need from this guy. I think the about page is literally static content. Yeah, this is static content. So we're just gonna grab that sucker and we're gonna bring him on over. And then we're gonna do let's see, user control, about dialog. And we are just gonna slap that stuff in. Paste. Let's see. And then this, let's see, is it possible to have change triggers back to the view models? I have check changes functions, which is used to enable an apply button. Ah, yeah. So this occurs a lot with like parent-child relationship stuff in a lot of cases. So does that XSD generation tool generate partials for you? Like, are they part? Let me. It was the XSD. Yeah, let me just look. Do they have? Uh, oh come on. .org. What? Why doesn't it show up? Yes, partial classes all the way. So the answer to your question is it possible to have it? Oh, .NET S. Thank you. Thank you. So there's a couple ways to go about doing it. I was hoping that. Why do you not show up? I don't doubt it's there. I'm just questioning. Is it this one? Your D supposed to be a C? Let's see here. Yeah, I was kind of hoping their docs would then show all of the stuff. Show me your output. Yeah, this is what we were looking for. Base elements, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, no, I realize it's a .NET global tool, but I was hoping to land on exactly where it was. Optional support for iNotify, proper change, and all that stuff. Yeah, so the the thought being of how to actually propagate up a property change from a lower object all the way to the top, because your top level view model likely needs it, your bottom level one has it. The big problem is there's not really a clean way of watching for those per se. So if you do it in code, you end up having to do all of your own registrations, which is a nightmare. There's not really yeah, and I'm not actually surprised at that. With the XSD to code going expensive. The way that I've often tried to handle it is in the partials. I was specifically hoping to see I could look at their partial generation for iNotify property changed. Because like in the MVVM toolkit, you get something that looks a little more, and this is obviously not a partial, but you get a virtual member that you can override for like on property changed and on property changing, which is incredibly convenient. The frankly, one of the easiest things to do is depending on how your app is set up, is a static call inside of one of those uh, property change things and do like a pub sub model. Like if you're using the community toolkit, their iMessenger or something similar, be able to push it up. Um, okay, yeah, cool. If you want to shoot me something, you can take a look. It really sucks needing to do it because uh it kind of leaves you open, but doing all of your own registrations to watch every level of nesting gets to be a major nightmare, depending on how deep it is. The other thing you can kind of get away with is in your XAML, you can kind of bind all the way through if you need to. So if there, and I guess maybe this is a question, is how many things do you need to be watching? Because if you're doing like binding A.B, right? You can always make an attached property or even just bind like, because you can do something like tag binding A dot, A dot B, right? And, or, dot C, right? And this gets the value all the way up, which, which gets you all the way into something useful. And then in theory, you could bind this into something into your view model as well. So you can kind of daisy chain the way up. So you send it all the way up to your view, and then from your view, drop it down into your view model. It's kind of yucky to do that though. But if you have a small number of these things that you want to do, this is not actually that bad. 5 values at 3 different nested levels. Shoot, 5 values, I might be tempted to do something like this. Right? Of just bind it all the way through. Because effectively what you're doing then at that point is using a dependency property, in this case tag, as a holder, to be able to send something back down. Because what you end up doing then, if you have tag here, let's give this guy a name, Boo, for the moment. Right? And then let's imagine we want to go back through, and actually maybe we're going to go to here. It may be worth just doing dependency properties in your view, right? So if you do dependency property, right? Sure. My property int main window, right? So pretend for a moment, right? So we've got my property here. So this guy then becomes, my property, right? Binding A.B.C, right? So we can throw away this tag and all this stuff here. And then all we have to do here is in a property changed callback, right? On my property changed. So, right method, right? So here we go, var main window gets main window D, D dot data context, var VM gets main window view model, right? Something like that. Let's see here. Oh, main window data context, right? So, and then, and at that point, then you can do whatever you want. Because if it's only 5 values, I might be real tempted to do something like this. And then just duplicate that 5 times over. And obviously, names and whatnot for what you want. Because that lets the binding then deal with all. It lets your binding deal with the dealing of all of the registering of property changes all the way down the tree. And then all you have to do is build the glue to go from the dependency property holder, sending it into your view model. And you could set a property, you could pass it to a method or similar, but this might be the path I would go.
That's partially why I don't like binding to non-view model objects. Like, even though you can, I always run into cases like this where it's like, oh, I want this, but it's now this ugly thing. So yeah, sometimes I'll skip binding to regular objects in favor of spending time converting them into view model objects that fit my use case nicely. Now, maybe your generated types are close enough and it'd be a bunch of duplication. So it's like, maybe that's not worth it, but my 2 cents. Okay, so we're going to clean this up, clean that up. Okay, this view model is really going to be a marker type. Oh, no, just to clarify. So dependency property in the code behind for your view. So yeah, so dependency property in the code behind for your view. Bind to your dependency property down through your type hierarchy, right? So your A.B.C into your custom dependency property. Then in the property changed for said dependency property, at that point, like in my case, I'm inside a main window, so I just casted my dependency object to main window, and then casted its data context into my view model class. And so I know when the dependency property is being changed from this binding, and then I just forward that into my view model either by setting a property or invoking a method or similar. Does that make sense? I think that might be the path of least resistance. Okay, so this was doing a code block, which I think this is doing all of this just to make a link, right? And we have something like that. It's called a hyperlink. Why did past Kevin do that? I don't know. To torment script later. Yeah. You want this just via Discord, Izzy? Does that work for you? Let's see. Bum. Let's see. Create a dependency property in your code. And for the view. Boom. Prop. Oh, nope, that's the wrong prop. Prop DP. Boom. Main window. On my property changed. And then boom. Then var copilot. Oh, bad copilot. Var VM gets. Thank you. There, something like that. So then cancel. Something like that. And then the view bind up your this. Do the right thing. Yeah, something like that. Oh, Control tab or Shift tab does not work inside a notepad. Up, nested property. That looks like that. There. Yeah, no problem, Izzy. Boom. That bit of text is sent to you. Okay, now I'm going to delete it. Okay, so let's get... Okay, so we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go hyperlink. And I'm just going to do hyperlink like that for now, and we will worry about making these things clickable later.
Hyperlink. We're going to go here. Boom. Get rid of that. Then we're not going to have modern UI in this, so we're killing that, and we are not using the Vivium Light. I wonder, would anybody be interested if there was a library that ripped through your NuGet packages and generated you out something like this? What do you use? I feel like it's one of those things that some people like the idea of, but would want ridiculous amounts of customization on the format. Which is fine, but feels weird. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are then going to wire this sucker up. So, then how do we want to show the dialogue? Do we want to do view model first or view first? Because the way that I like to do this here is abuse it like this. Right? So my DI setup that I have on my project template allows for this kind of setup as long as you then register it up. But then in this case, the question comes how to propagate this thing. Because I want to be able to show this dialogue in here, and I could wire it up directly. That feels wrong, I think. Yeah, it feels a little wrong to do it that way because I'm also going to want to pop one for showing the um yeah I think what we're going to do is we're going to compromise because I could go to dealing with all of the abstraction levels and similar, but I think what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to reference it like this. I think I'm going to do template binding. I think this is probably the easiest way. Let's see. No, I want dialog host resources. And we're just going to do data templates. So data template, data type. Let's see. X type about view model. I want this to be something like about. We're going to do it like this. About dialog. This is also going to be about. Up here, we're going to go with XML namespace about gets DLR namespace about. Yeah, so that builds like that. And then inside of our main window view model, since we aren't writing tests at the moment, the show about can literally just be a dialog host.show. And in this case, we can just feed it the content. And ideally, what I want to do is a new about view model. And this will be the quick and dirty approach. It doesn't leverage the DI to build it or any of that stuff. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. Let's leverage the DI. Func about view model factory. Assign. Come on. Come on. Oh, you created and assigned it. Where did you put it? Yeah, not where I wanted you. I wanted you there. Thanks. And I actually want you up here. Thanks. So we'll do this. We'll do this. and then we'll go about view model factory. That way the DI container can be responsible for it. It leaves a little better pattern for stuff. So what we're going to do down here then, private static void add factory key. Let's see. Let's actually go down here. We'll go file, class, service, collection, extensions. Copilot, figure it out. This service collection services. What am I gonna write here, Copilot? Pretty close. Let's see here. Let's see. Function provider get required service. Let's see. So it wants where T is not null. That'll work. Services add transient about view model. Done. Oh, and then I need to go services add. Actually, you know what? Let's bring this down into here. Do services add transient T. Make that work, and then this can just add factory about view model. So the first line registers the let's see. You must also be a reference type. Can't remember if class has to come first or second. There's a rule to the ordering of this. There. Add factory service collection. Oh, got to make this method public. Otherwise, I can't find it. There we go.
Let's see. I tried using Velopack a month ago, packaging an Electron NetApp via Velopack. Why I have two exes in the install folder, and have an error dialog when open the first exe file. What am I doing wrong? So good.
So good questions. There are a number of things.
Show you something here real quick.
If I look at, let me see if I can. I think I have my. Just doing some testing the other night.
I assume.
So I have this app here. So this is just Velopack eDOE test. It's a simple console app. Because I assume you're talking about when you say your install folder, what you're talking about, at least on Windows, is underneath local app data, and then your package ID is the next folder. So you'll end up with the update exe at the root of this directory, and this is effectively the bootstrapper that's responsible for doing updates. Because to install an update, you have to download the files. Your application has to close down in order to then apply that update. That's the purpose of this bootstrapper, is it applies the updates and then restarts your application, assuming that's the API you called. Inside of current should just be your application. If you're getting extra executables in here, that would surprise me. If I show you where this app was built from.
Second, I'll go grab that.
So that app was built inside of this directory. So, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm a little less familiar with Electron apps, but at least in .NET, after I've done my full compile and I've built my app, this is the output directory from building my app. And in this case here, I only have my one executable here. And this directory here, that's the result of building your application, should match whatever ends up inside of this current directory in your installed path. So with that said, if when you are running your VPK pack command, whatever directory you point VPK pack at, it's just going to slurp up everything in that directory. So if there's stuff you don't want included, it's kind of up to you to clean that directory and get that directory into the correct structure that you want it in, because it's just going to slurp everything up and assume that everything in there is what is needed. Yeah. Does that answer the question? I might need some detail about when you're seeing multiple executables, but at least in terms of your installed path, the only executables I would expect is there should be your application's executable inside the current directory, and then the update exe at the root to be done as the bootstrapper. And then the packages directory, this is just where, when it's downloading updates, where things get downloaded to. Right. So in this case, we currently use the NuGet package format as effectively a fancy zip file with a manifest to keep track of versioning information. So it goes here. But yeah, let me know if that makes sense or if I misunderstood that at all. Okay, so here we got about view model. This thing does this. This thing does this. Goes here. Let's see. I have 2 exes in my app. First as like the link to my exe. Interesting. 2 exes of your app. Is and which operating system are you seeing this on? Is that on all of them or just on Windows, Mac, or Linux? First as the link to this, because kind of what you're describing is there used to be a bootstrapper that would go in there, but that is gone at this point, unless you're on an old. Actually, you know what? If you were using Velopack a month ago, um, yeah, Tori with Velopack, yeah, no, that's a fair comparison. Um, which version of Velopack are you on? Because when we first migrated from Cloud Squirrel to Velopack, there was a top level executable that would get created that it kind of played the role of the Bootstrap exe, in that when it was invoked, it would look at the various directories and figure out which one to do. I'm a clone from GitHub. Okay. Do you know how far back you are? Because there's been some work done recently. If you grab the latest, and I'm going to say this carefully, the latest preview package, there's been a lot of work done in like the last month or so, and I wouldn't expect that behavior anymore. But because if you're still seeing that behavior on latest, um, open a bug up on the repository, because that I assume here, right? So the main Velopack repository. Um, and go ahead and do that. Just be aware at present, because we're kind of trying to push for a 1.0. We aren't really doing support for older versions because we're just trying to get everything stable and out to the 1.0 portion all the way through. And so there's been a handful of kind of structural changes like that exe happening as well. But yeah, it sounds like it's either potentially your clone is, yeah, so I might tell you to say, if you don't have any significant changes on your fork, try updating it to be in sync with latest develop and give it another shot. Because if you're on an older one that's a couple months old, you might still have the old code that had that kind of trying to remember what the term was for it.
I don't like the word bootstrapper. Effectively, it was the target executable, and it was only there as a singular anchor for shortcuts, and then we just fixed the shortcut problem, and that went away.
Yeah, yeah. If the new version doesn't work out, definitely log a bug, and we can take a look. Okay, so let's launch this. I want to see the about screen work. File, about. Look at that. It's not pretty, but it works. Obviously, the links aren't clickable. Formatting sucks. Oh, let's see. I want close on click away. True, because I want to light dismiss these dialogues. There we go. Okay, light dismiss of the dialogues. Or we could actually just put a close button on the dialogue. Maybe we'll do that, because I don't know if I want light dismiss on all the dialogues. Let's do this. Throw some margin in here of like 30 pixels. And then let's do a grid row definitions. Row definition. Nope. I cannot type. Height auto. Height auto. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to go with button horizontal alignment right. And then command. And we can actually do X static here. Go. Well, we don't have the material design namespace yet. Let's grab that. Slap that in. Ding, ding, ding. Then if I go material design, dialog host, let's see, close dialog command, done.
See, and why not use the Tari Rust part?
That is a good question. I might have to like we've definitely taken hints from some of this stuff in terms of being able to build Velopack, but kind of long term, the goal of Velopack is to be that kind of a cross-platform, cross-setup. There is. Let me just make sure it's public before I put my foot all the way down my mouth. Yeah, it's public. So there was this guy here around kind of doing some of those cross-platform dialogues because there is a desire to have kind of a shared cross-platform library.
And I need to go back because Tari was one of the ones that we looked at, and I'm trying to remember why we elected to build our own. It may have been size, because we were a little hesitant to take on anything that would bump it up because we've gotten several I don't want to call bugs, we'll call them feature requests around. We want to keep Velopack as small as possible because every extra dependency we take on means every app using it also has to take on those dependencies, which can theoretically bloat size because nobody wants to take on a 100 meg dependency if they've got a 3 meg app. Like that's overkill. So when we were looking at cross-platform UI options to be able to do simple dialogues and similar, size was a major consideration for us, and I know Tari was one that we considered, and I would have to go back to some of this stuff to look at it. I think it may have been size if my memory's correct, but don't quote me on that. I could be completely wrong. But that was the short version because we part of Velopack 2 is trying to aim to not force people to use a UI if they don't want it. Like we have aspirations of including UI components that people could opt into using because sometimes people are like, yeah, just give me the standard UI, let me go, right? I don't want to think too hard. Give me a decent looking UI, send it, call it good. Which is great, right? And we want to be able to offer that to people, but we also don't want it to be a requirement. We want that to be something that people can choose to use if they want to,
but also the purpose in Velopack is to be small and install fast, and UI adds bloat and it makes it bigger and potentially less fast. So those were just kind of some of the considerations. We may go back and revisit those at a later point too, as we look to add in more UI stuff. One of the things that we were looking at doing for the all users installer, because a common request for people is, hey, don't just install to the individual user. I want to install system wide. I'm okay with an elevation prompt or similar to be able to do that kind of install. And part of being able to do that is then there's kind of an implicit request there to have a GUI to say, I want my user to be able to pick between whether they want to install current user or all users, right? That is a choice. Yeah, and I'll mention the Tara UI again. My partner Kaylin is the one who was looking into it more than I was. Um, but yeah, we could certainly take a look at it. The A big portion of Velopack from, like, if you came from Cloud Squirrel, was the conversion of bringing a lot of the stuff over into Rust, because Squirrel.Windows, which is what Cloud Squirrel was originally based on, um, had a bunch of stuff in C++ for doing some of the native stuff. And it was kind of big and clunky. And when we redid Velopack, that was part of the motivation of going to Rust, is small, fast, and reliable is what we were shooting for. But yeah, no, great question. Like that is kind of the long-term end goal, is cancel. Just do that. That way we can escape key out of it if we want to. That's actually, and I think that's a lot of it is Rust. The WebSockets plus serial port only being 35 meg, like, points to Rust. I think they do an amazing job. Oops. Grid row 1. There we go. That works. About escape key works. Light dismiss no longer works, but escape and the close button both work. Good enough for me. Good enough for me. Okay, so let's get the next bit of the app done. Now we have the here. So on the main window view model, we want to be able to find the URI, populate, and display the stream info. So we want something in here. Well, one, we're going to want something that is, maybe we can just copy some of the old UI. I don't know how much I'm going to want to keep it, but we'll copy some of this. Let's see, download XAML. Let's see, so we got a grid, dock panel. Maybe we'll just grab some of this to start and then work backwards from there. Not perfect, but you know what? It gets us a starting point to play with. Start with it. Put that in. Okay, and then let's see, what are we missing here? We need the namespace for the YouTube Exploder. Go up here. Go. What else are we missing? Does that get me in here? Format bits there. I'm gonna do some bits there. Bits there. Not gonna bring forward old dead code that I'm not using. Yeah. More time, use Electron Net. Cannot write updater server for Electron. Very small amount of information on Electron updater. For Tower, easy to write update server. And for Velopack, that is awesome. That is awesome. And really that's one of the things that we've been really looking to try to target, is making sure that, oops, messed that one up.
because we want Velopack to be good for a lot of stuff. Like I do a lot of C#.net stuff, which is great. But Velopack isn't expected to be a .NET thing. It's expected to be an installer updater. And with as broad a language support as we can make it. Okay, so that gets me into there. Let's do a little bit of a margin in here because I want some space. 20, 30, 20, 20. All right, something like that. Brings it in. Great. Great, 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 great. That pushes it around. That does some stuff. Okay, and speaking of which, okay. Uh, Working about screen. Did you make a good point? One of the things that I want to do is actually push this thing out via Velopack. So let's actually add that in here. Should be able to do that too. So I'm going to grab Velopack, and I am actually going to grab Preview because I know there is some stuff in this Preview package that I really, really want. We're going to grab that. Okay, and then step 1 is in general, you want the Velopack call right at the beginning of your main application, which my template has an overridden main. So if anybody's watching this and you've got a WPF app, just note that the Velopack uh, call here, the whole point of this is to handle the restarts that occur during update. So the more things you put, the more things that happen before you get to this line, the slower your update process might potentially be. Let's see. Love C#, but not like XAML. Maui and Blazor is cool, but hard to work on old Mac OS and Linux. Yeah. Honestly, if you haven't checked it out, my I have a really soft spot in my heart for Avalonia. Now, if you don't like XAML, this is probably not for you. I'll just put it that way. I love my XAML, and Avalonia lets me kind of go cross-platform with my C# XAML, and it lets me go everywhere, which is kind of cool. So it's not Maui. The big difference here is Maui or Uno platform. They both kind of have XAML, and then they bring it down to a native control, whereas Avalonia, it's all Skia rendered, so they own the rendering pipeline, so it's fast. Cool. Looked at Avalonia and React. Yeah, I assume that's React Native, and yeah, Avalonia is my go-to. I realize it may not line up with everybody. It also means if you pick Avalonia, you're kind of picking to have an app that's going to have a common look and feel. Obviously, it doesn't have to be that way, but that's what you're going to kind of get by default as you go down that path. So some people don't want common look and feel. They want native look and feel, which is kind of a different paradigm. So just know that if you go down Avalonia path, you may end up having to do some of that stuff on your own. Like you'll get a native-ish looking app, but it's gonna feel the Avalonia-esque because it's Skia rendered. Okay, so we did that. We did that. Let's pack and build this sucker. And see here. So let me just log in real quick. Doo-doo. Log me in. So I'll just mention here for anybody following along, what you are about to see is something called Velopack Flow. This is a well, so it's technically available and out there now. Consider it pre-release if you go and play with it though. It is what is going to become our SaaS service for hosting applications. So I am going to go log into quick. So it's app.velopack.io. Oh, it chose Dart for Android. Very cool. Oh, nice.
I will say Dart is one that I haven't actually played with yet. Okay, so you can see I've got some apps. I also have a custom team where I can get away with stuff. So we're gonna call this personal downloader. So the package ID is the same as what you'd pass to VPK, the -e parameter. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Create project. Oh, I'm at the maximum allowed number of projects. Stand by. Beauty of being the owner of this.
I can vote my.
Sorry, I need a quick Battlefield promotion.
Just a quick one. Login is me. Hey, City Films. I am doing well. How are you doing this fine evening? Let's see.
Let's see. Select star.
That is wonderful to hear. All right, I'm just realize I got to kind of do something off screen for a moment where I fix my max project limit.
Uh,
Okay. Projects.
uh, okay. Create project.
Hey, look at that.
Now I have a new project. Almost too easy. Almost too easy. Okay, so then we got to do .NET publish. And actually, I've got a nice little code that I wrote the other night, and I'm just gonna grab it real quick because why think any harder than I need to, right? Let's see. I want the output directory here because I think I can just do .NET publish and have it work. Because I believe my default project template should. Oh, did I not save everything? Did I not get the project dependency? Huh? Couldn't find the project. What? Okay. We all agree that the project is there and restored. Try this again. .NET publish. Sudo make me a project. There we go. All right, and now I should see. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. .NET publish -o publish. That's what I want. Now it should have publish directory. If I look in the publish directory, it should have my app. Great. All the app. This one is coming along nicely. Unless you were referring to Velopack, which is also coming along nicely. We're going to add in a quick little installer to it. So if I do VPK pack, if we look at the help real quick, because in this case, I want to know where things are going to go. So in this case, I can just take the defaults of most of this, but what I do need to specify is a pack ID, a pack version. So we're going to go VPK pack ID. Now in this case, my pack ID must absolutely match the one that I created out in Velopack Flow. We're just going to put that in. Why is it not letting me? Oh, weird. That is not. Oh, that was weird. A dialog in a different browser window hijacked my cursor focus on this window. That's exciting. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Let's see here. And then we're going to do pack version. We are going to do 0.0.1. And then my pack directory is going to just be the published directory from before. And I realize my big head is kind of in the way, so I'm going to slide this over so it's not completely blocking. Turn that off. There we go. There, command looks like that. Yeah, do that. Oh, and I need to give it the executable name because my executable doesn't match my pack ID, which is -e. Yeah, or main executable. So main exe is going to be, I think it's YouTube. What did I call it? YouTube downloader, I think is what it is. YouTube down. Gotta spell it correctly though. Loader.exe. There we go. Why Visual Studio and not VS Code or Writer? Good question. So for WPF development, the experience in Visual Studio over VS Code is quite significant. The C# dev kit for VS Code is fairly new and does not have all of the same features. Even just the XAML related features specifically just are not there in the VS Code one. Writer, on the other hand, is a reasonable choice. I've got a lot of colleagues that absolutely love Writer. When they made the free tier subscription for Writer for open source work, like that made a lot of people very happy. Really, it's just I'm more used to Visual Studio than Writer. I keep installing it and trying it, and I probably just need to spend a little more time getting used to it. So I think for me, it's a little bit of a familiarity thing there. But other than that, no reason, because Writer is an awesome IDE, and if you're on a Mac, I think Writer is hands down the best .NET IDE on Mac. That I will give you. Okay, and then VPK publish. Oh, right. Output dir. Let's see, and this is releases. Go, 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 go. So some of these commands, if you are looking at the VPK command line tool, you will not see. They are intentionally hidden. Let's see. Are you or will you add to the downloader VPN client or vray? That's an interesting question. So at present, we hadn't considered doing that. There are a number of features on our backlog around things like that we expect that like more enterprise customers are going to need, which is, I suspect if you're asking about needing a VPN client or similar, it's probably, I'm guessing you're thinking for like an enterprise type solution. So currently no, but that I'd love to hear more about the use case for it, because I do suspect there are going to be things where enterprise customers want to do Velopack, but they want to, like, only our users get access to the downloads or similar. So that is absolutely on our roadmap, and if VPNs are part of that, I'd be curious to understand more. Okay, so for reference, we now have a published 0.1 release, and if anybody wants to play along at home, you too can now go download my app. It's very boring, but for example, if we download it now, download, it's not signed, so it's gonna give you lots of scary warnings of, oh no, the world is ending, don't install the executable. So, which you'll don't. 9.1 meg, not bad. And now my virus scanner has to go and think about it for a minute and convince itself that it's not a virus. Good job. And then it installs, and bippity boppity booyah, we have one Velopack installed application. Hoorah! So, why didn't you build a signed one? So honestly, Izzy, there's not a good reason for me not to. I should probably show this off. I don't know if we'll get to it tonight, but remind me. The signing is actually not terribly difficult. Code signing. So on our docs here, this bit, the signing with Azure Trusted Signing. So this looks like a lot of steps, right? Like there's a decent amount of work here. The thing is, I think 1 through 6 you do once per company or per signing account, right? Because signing up with Azure Trusted Signing is cheap, like compared to a lot of alternatives. Where's the pricing page? Show me the pricing. Where'd the pricing go? See Trusted Signing pricing. Right? So depending on where you're at, most people will only need basic because this is 5,000 signatures a month. Like, very few people are going to need to do more than 5,000 signatures a month. So for $10 a month, you can get 5,000 signs. And if you go over that, it costs you, half a penny. And, this is in USD for now for people who are carrying for each one after that. Like, that's dirt cheap, right? So unless you need multiple certificates or similar, and then the price goes up a little bit. But for anybody who's priced out code signing certs, this is cheap in comparison, right? And so once you have that set up, all you really need to do is add in a JSON file pointing at the trusted signing endpoint with the code signing account name and your profile name. And then when you are doing VPK pack, you just need to add one extra option for the Azure trusted sign file, point it at that JSON file. Your signing is handled for you at that point. That's really nice. The one other thing I will mention, SignTool exe does require Windows, specifically because of the dlib package, this guy, that comes with it. However, there was someone who just posted this morning in our Discord, saying they got was it JSign to work, and they shared the steps that they went through, which was not that much. So I plan on adding those into here as well. So for people who want to do signing not on Windows but still use Azure Trusted Signing, it apparently worked great for them. So I'm gonna get there. Let's see. Would there be any way to use a domain managed code signing cert? Oh, yes. So if you don't, the Velopack has various ways of doing the signing. So if you already have different signing that you want to use for doing the code signing, any sign tool invocation that you have, let's see here. If I go references, CLI, VPK, let's see, VPK pack, right? So there is a there's a sign template command which sort of pulls off the training wheels and says we will build up invocations to whatever signing tool you want to use, and you just put in this curly brace file parameter, and we will feed in all of the files to be signed into that sign template. So whatever, if there's a third-party signing tool or whatever you want to use, it gives you a way of going in there. If you are using SignTool exe, you can just do signing params. So it's slightly easier. So this is the Azure Trusted Signing is the happy path. Sign params is if you're using sign tool exe and you want it easy. And sign template is I want to do something custom, take off the training wheels and let me ride. Kind of in that range. But I did see a question up there. What is Velopack Flow? Great question. So this is our hosted service because you saw how I went from adding a couple lines of code in my app to publishing like in 2 commands. That is what Velopack Flow is designed to do. It is for people who want to have effectively that entire life cycle managed for you. Because if you Velopack by itself is free, open source. It's going to stay that way. Like there's nothing about the core installer framework that is going to go closed source. Me and Kaylin don't believe in doing that kind of crap. That's stupid, right? That is not a good pricing model. That angers people. We aren't going to do that, right? So the installer, the updater, everything that's in the GitHub repo is going to stay free. It's going to continue to advance, add languages, cross-platform, all of that stuff. That's going to be in there. No biggie, right? The thing with the basic, with the open source stuff is right after you do the VPK upload, that's where the open source freebie stuff stops and says, okay, hands off, you're on your own from here, right? We aren't like, you deal with the uploads, you're managing that. That is not us. That is up to you to deal with, right? And so if you're doing an S3 bucket or GitHub or whatever, right, you're in charge of managing that. We give the upload command to send the data there. After that, we're hands off, right? So Velopack Flow is our solution to say, well, what if you don't want us hands off and you want it just managed for you? It's like, I don't want to think about hosting my app. I just want it to go. I want to upload. I want to get a download link, and I'd like to not think about this again. That's where Flow comes in. And there's going to be a handful of things that are going to make it into here that are going to be kind of like when we're hosting the back end, we can add features that only exist on that one back end, right? So, for example, like if I come in here, if I decide I only want 50% of my users to get this update, done. 50% of my users are going to see this update. So there's things like that that we can do when we control the back end of where the things are hosted, where all of this stuff ends up going, right? We're probably going to end up building some stuff in here around like automatic channel promotion because we expect channels to be used for like beta prod, for example, right? And you might want to take a release into beta and then later say, okay, time to promote, and then promote it up to prod. Like that kind of automatic promotion stuff, or even automatic Delta file generation, right? To go back and forth between versions. That kind of thing is stuff that we're looking to build into here as well. So app.velopack.io, it is out there and hosted now. Again, we have not officially launched, so please treat it as beta. There is a free tier that when you make an account, you will land on. I am on a custom plan because, well, when you are half owner of the company, you can put yourself on a custom plan. But if people want stuff, let me know, and we can certainly we can talk. Right? Like there's a lot out here. There's a lot of stuff around here as far as like user management. Right now, we really only have 2 settings. You're an owner or an admin, and that's it. There's no middle ground. So it's like we want to build out kind of some of that permission stuff and related things here. There are billing pages. They should all be working. I might caution people from using them until we fully launch because we have not actually nailed down our finalized pricing. So it's probably pretty close. So let's see. You add durable task or Aspire to it. So I am using .NET Aspire. Yeah, so Magnevo. So the repo itself here, that one is closed source, but again, the only one who's going to yell at me for doing this is me. So I can get away with this. So I've got some work in progress here, but if we look, right? So there's my .NET Aspire host that is sitting in here. So when I go to run locally with my Docker host set up, I get my web API backend, I get my React front end. We have a database, we have storage accounts for being able to host stuff. We've got queue processing because when you upload files, there's a background processor to be able to go through and do it. We've got background processing for dealing with payment related stuff as well. So there's stuff inside of here for being able to deal with all of it. But yeah, absolutely. Like I threw this on .NET Aspire as soon as it launched, and it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. And of course, as soon as .NET 9 launched, I immediately revved all the things because why not? So, Izzy, have a good day at work. But yes, so that is Velopack Flow in a shorthand. So if people do go try it out, please join our Discord and reach out with anything you come across. The one thing I will say right up front, and this is part of one of the things that we want to fix, because you come here and the first thing you see is this create new project button. Yeah, this button doesn't do anything yet. So we have to put the functionality behind that button. You can still make projects by going up here to like my projects, my teams, etc., and building stuff out here, right? And so you can get in here and get away with building them that way, which is what I did earlier. But yeah, the big button right at the front, yeah, doesn't work yet. And part of why we haven't just plugged it in is because, see this guided setup wizard, we want people to have a good experience going through here. So we're trying to set up some guided paths of, hey, if you're on an Electron app, do X, Y, and Z. If you're building a WPF app, do this, do that. Right? So kind of a little more helpful, because we assume a lot of people on Flow are going to be the people who want things handled and want things easy. And so we want this to be as easy as possible for people. Okay. Yeah. So one NuGet package, one line of code, and a couple CLI commands, and I posted an app. So, woohoo! Okay, let's continue, and then we'll post an update to the app. That'll be even cooler. Just keep going. And at some point, my .NET templates are probably going to have an optional switch for including Velopack, because like it's going to be my default setting for publishing stuff. Because it's so freaking easy, so freaking easy. Which is what it's designed to be, easy. That's what we want. Okay, so we've got find video. Really, what I want to do. Let me launch this. And then too, if people want to, we always love if we get stars on our Velopack repo. So if anybody feels like, if anybody just wants to do a simple support of the project, just clicking the star button is really helpful. Partially because it gives me warm fuzzies. Okay. Okay, so if we take this, I need to go and grab my started a long time ago. Excellent. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, so we got this, and I am going to, I will mention to people, so, in case anybody's wondering, 1, this is my video, my content. 2, this video is licensed under Creative Commons, so I'm allowed to download it. Okay, so before people get all about downloading. Okay, we got that. We hit find video. And the one thing, so you'll note the nice thing here is the button disables to prevent monkey clicks, but there's no real progress indication that anything is going here. So how this is actually working behind the scenes. Right, so here's your find video command. And the button, you'll note, automatically disabled as soon as we clicked it. And how that works is by default, the MVVM toolkit, while your async command is executing, it automatically makes the commands can execute method return false. So it's very convenient. Is it raises can execute change, returns false, deals with the hey command starting, command ending, right? Because before a lot of people would do something like is running gets true, right, and then is running gets false at the end, and that's the way it would go, which is fine, but not great. What we can do instead is we can come over here, and I think what I'd like to do is I would like to do progress bar dock panel dock bottom. I think I just want to do a height at 2, something small, and then I want to do something like is indeterminate gets true, and then I want to do is visible or is enabled that I want to do. I think I want to do is visible or visibility binding gets find video command is running, right? This is the other nice part about the MVVM toolkit. It just gives you this kind of stuff here, right? Obviously, is running is a bool. We need a converter to get that to a visibility. Let's see, static resource, boolean to visibility converter, which is one of the absolute tiniest built-in ones, which we have not added yet. So we're going to go here, boolean to visibility converter. X key. I should probably consider adding this to my template because it's very rare that you don't need this converter for something in your app. Like the most common converter of all time. Let's see here. Oh, I should probably stop debugging. That will give me a better editing experience. Okay, so what are you squawking about here? So there's that. There's that. I've got too many curly braces. That's the problem. So now when I run it, I should see a little progress bar while the button's disabled because that will give me, right, a little more. What? Oh, so yeah, so this is because I don't do enough dock panel stuff. So dock panel by default has a property called last child fill, and it defaults to true. So unfortunately here, the last child is the progress bar now. So that's not quite right. There we go. Right, and so if we go here, boom, find video. There, we saw a little progress bar there. I think what I want to do though is I want to put a little bit of a top margin on that. Margin, let's do 0, 4, 0, 0. Just something to put a little spacer there. There. And then we're gonna put a little bit of space between the button and the text box. So margin, let's do a left margin of like 8. I'm trying to get myself in the habit of making sure that I pick margins and paddings that are generally powers of 2. One, it helps avoid DPI settings where things might shift a little bit because they don't split nicely. There, that looks a little better. Okay. That gets us to there. That gets us something in here. We can then go through and pick one of these things, which gets us fairly good. Obviously, this isn't going to completely work the way I want. And then obviously I hit the download button. It's going to prompt me for a save location. And then we will deal with that. Let me just check. Up. Stupid. Okay. Okay, so this one here, the old app, what it would do is it would pop a dialog and it would show the downloading progress. And I think in here, let's see, where is the dialog? Downloading control. This guy here. So this is the dialog that would get popped all the way up. And we can kind of grab file download view model. So we can kind of just bring this guy across and then we'll update him first. So we're going to come across here. And once again, I have been favoring grouping things, my view and view models alongside by type or domain. It's felt a lot nicer. In years past, I used to create like a views namespace and a view models namespace, and that works. It's just the more I've done it, I've questioned how valuable and helpful that is. Whereas grouping by domain, I can see how valuable and helpful it is. So it's one of those. It's like this feels a little nicer. Okay, got to clean a bunch of stuff up. Let's see. These ones were, yeah, YouTube downloader about, YouTube downloader download. And then this becomes observable object. There we are. We're going to make you partial so that the source generators can do their thing. Let's see. This is, I don't know that we're going to need this cancellation token source. Cancellation is one of the things that the MVVM toolkit gives us for free, so we will probably be okay without it. We will see. We're going to make this an observable property. And we're going to whack all this stuff. And then observable property. Whack all this stuff out. Then observable property. So if anybody's questioning the value of the MVVM toolkit, all this code I'm deleting. Okay, so this was a relay command. Do that, and we can make you private now. We're going to leave it as is for now, but we may be able to get away without this kind of thing. Let's see. And then this was doing download file. We might have to look at how this was being set up, because I think this view model was being created, and you can see it's creating a progress. We can now use target type new expressions. Great. Create a YouTube client. Is this client expected to be disposable? No. Okay, cool. Sweet. So that gets me to there. There is maybe an argument to be made that, unintended, that we should do this and this rather than that. If we aren't doing assignments, this is a little bit cleaner. Let's see. And then we're going to name this download file async because I've been a little more keen to that. So and I think what we're going to do is start download async. I think feels a little bit nicer. Okay, and then let's do a new user control. Download dialog. And then we're just going to go steal all that XAML from the old one. Or at least some of it. Why do I have a stack panel and a grid? Oh, because the stack panel is vertically aligned center. Okay. Keep it. Layout for the moment. The layout for the moment. Okay, and then one of the things that, and I probably should have done it on the other one, but it doesn't really matter, is setting up the design time data context so you get better IntelliSense. We're going to go here. And this is actually going to be called file download view model. We should just call this download view model. Let's see. A view model. That gets me into there and should give me good IntelliSense there. Make sure we're compiling. Well, that gets me to there. Technically, we can delete the last using if we do this. Because we don't need the base class in this half of the partial, because the XAML generated half of the partial will have it. You can actually delete this off of here. Not really a big deal either way, but it works. And you did not rename the file for me. Great, thank you. I've got a colleague that usually recommends always deleting from the Solution Explorer because it does the rename more consistently. I don't I don't particularly subscribe to that, mostly because that feels like the tool should fix its bugs so that it stops sucking. Okay, so now we have to go back to main window view model because now we need to pop this dialog once we get inside of here. So effectively, we've popped the save dialog. We are now going to trigger a download, and this whole thing is just kind of yucky, right? Because this was doing the code entire or setting up the UI entirely in the code, and yuck, 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 yuck. So what we are going to do is we're going to come up here. And we're going to do a second factory func of download view model factory. Right, that goes there, that goes there, that goes there. Create an assigned field. Great. Goes there, and then down here we're going to go VM gets download view model factory, and I'm separating it out here so that it's so that we can do this differently. And then var dialog task gets dialog host show view model. So I'm doing this kind of in a weird order. It's going to be start download async. Ooh. Okay. We're going to go var download ask. Then we're going to go await dialog task. And then we're going to go await download task. So showing the dialog, then starting the download, waiting for the dialog to close, then waiting for the download to close. Yeah. And we just torch all of this garbage. Right? So all of that goes away. Great. Done. Okay. I guess we are going to need the token source here because we don't have a command that we're using. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. It's fine. I'm only thinking because you can actually get a cancellation token right from the source generated relay commands that you can then use for cancellation, which is very convenient, right? So you can also have the source generator generate you a separate cancellation command that you could use too, which is another possibility. So it's like, okay, we've got options here, but we've already got this other thing written with the cancellation token source. I am realizing that we should probably, if we're going to support cancellation, should probably catch operation canceled exception, right? And just deal with that. Of do we actually need to do anything, right? So that's a question. Let's see. There's all of that. Okay, that's probably all fine because this is really just a dialog to pop to show downloading progress. Okay, so that works. That works. That works. Do we need anything else? Oh, we do need one more thing. My dialog needs to know something about that new view model. We're going to go here and we're going to create, we're going to do download and we're going to change this to download. And then this is going to become download view model. This is going to become download dialog. Bippity boppity booyah. Rather than constructor injection of the view model, it's just going to use data templates and assign in that way. Okay, so really cool if the app works the first try. Except for we didn't register it in the DI container, so it's confused. Services, add factory, download view model, launch. Oh, namespace. Yeah. Shut up. I hear you. I hear you. Stop it, Visual Studio. I just want to include the namespace. Thank you. Got our link. Find video. Gonna think for a minute. We're gonna grab the little one. Download video. Downloads. Test. Save. Downloading. See the progress going across. Again, the dialog doesn't look that pretty while we're waiting on this. Margin 30. All right, give me some space. Download complete. Okay. Proof's in the pudding.
Did it work?
Let's see here. Actually, let's do this. Do I have FF Play installed? Ooh. Sweet. Okay, so we can do this. So if I do FF Play downloads test MP4. Yay! It works! It works! It works! We have downloaded a file. And it's me at very low resolution. Just how I feel when I take my glasses off. Okay. So, I mean, it's only downloading the video stream. It's not muxing it together, blah, blah, blah. That's a second NuGet library and more calls that need to be made. But the important part is this thing now works. So we call that a commit. Let's see. Downloading now works again. Yay. And then let's go through. At some point, I want to put in Velopack updating into this so that it auto updates itself. And we need to deal with closing this dialog, but that could be a later project for now. So let's push this. And then we want to, let's see, let's go back to master. And then we want to, oh. This is the master branch, but I didn't realize I had my work tree set to the master branch, so I've been pushing to master. Okay, great. Great. So that is, so even though I separated it locally, remote-wise, I pushed the whole way out. This now has everything in it and is out there. The last thing I want to do, though, real quick, is I want to edit the README. Why is my README not part of my solution items? That feels like a potential bug. Oh, I think I know why. Because my .NET template has a different README. Let's see here. We want to go in here, and I would like to look at. Why is it not showing me my changes? Kraken? Why are you not showing me my commits? Because I want to grab the old README and effectively put it back. Because these are all nice things, but you'll also note it's now automatically added in Dependabot for me, so I've got one more repo spamming me, so that's exciting. That is all kinds of exciting. Yeah, so I want the old README. We're going to copy this. We're going to go here, and we're going to go paste, but we are going to be, let's see, the app is distributed with Velopack, shameless self-promotion, velopack.io. Download the application from, and then I'm going to go out to, where'd my Velopack flow go? YouTube downloaders, and I want get latest setup link. And so this is the latest setup link from the channel is effectively the permalink that you can link out to. For anybody who's reverse engineering it, it's literally package ID / channel. And you can technically do package ID / channel, and if you want to pin it to like version 1.0 or similar, you can do that. But we just want whatever's the latest on that channel. Download the latest. Do this. Ooh, there. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then, oh, I did that probably out on my work tree, didn't I? Yep. Let's see. Updating. README. Bit. Push. And then if we go out and look at here, we have a pull request. Pull request. Sure. Squash merge. Squash merge. And then if we get, at some point, I want to add into my template some scripts for automatically setting up the GitHub repo because I pulled my template in and my template assumes things like Dependabot or similar. And in fact, I might just go whack those because those are going to end up getting annoying unless I set up, we're going to remove Dependabot for now. That's not going to delete it. Containing folder. We're just going to whack Dependabot out of here. Because I don't actually care to have this thing chewing up my build minutes. I care about it, but not that much. Let's see. Move Dependabot. Boom. Should probably pull too. Yeah, so reset hard, rebase, push. There we go. And then I think we can go back here and we can throw away, so I close down my Visual Studio so I'm not holding on to it. We can remove the work tree and clean that up. There we go. And then we don't need this branch either. Just have master. Now we're all synced up. All synced up and purdy. So there we have it. From it's not a great app, but it wasn't a great app when I built it before. It was kind of done as I was playing around with how to actually get some of this stuff going. This is this link is wrong now too. WPF, okay. Maybe at some point I'll get really fancy and I'll edit it and make it a little thing for pulling down my videos and organizing them and whatnot and that kind of thing. So, but hopefully that was helpful for anybody playing around with WPF apps. That's a quick and dirty way to get them updated. Let's see. You use Uno. I have used Uno, and Uno is pretty good. Uno and Avalone, I think, are my two top picks for any sort of cross-platform development. WPF still has a very soft spot in my heart, despite the fact that it's coming up on 2 decades old of things that I love. Uno is my pick for if I want native look and feel in a lot of cases, because Uno's architecture is very similar to Maui. It's just, in my opinion, Uno's done it better. So they've got kind of the same type of setup where it's the native platforms underneath. They've got a translation layer on top. You can write your common code. They just released some pretty cool tooling around like I'm trying to remember what they called it, like Hot Designer or something of that nature. But it's kind of a weird mix between like editing your app live and a designer look and feel for a WYSIWYG type experience, which is I only kind of briefly messed with it. It was kind of cool. So like especially for people who are very visual, I can see it being a massive asset. So
Yeah, no, the Uno guys are great. I even have an Uno T-shirt from somewhere. I met several members of their team at the Build conference this last year, which was great. Nice guys. So nothing bad to say about Uno. Um, I have a small itty bitty preference towards Avalonia just because I like some of the tiny implementation details that they've done. But Uno versus Avalonia, both good strong choices. So I think with that, I am probably going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Magnivo, I really appreciate all the questions and interaction. Always good. I love uh, I love questions and rabbit trailing off if that's where people are interested. For anybody who goes around, if you check out Velopack, feel free to let us know in the Discord. It's always good to even hear, because oftentimes all you hear is when things go poorly. But if you've got an app that you've built and launched with it, feel free to just drop a line and let us know that you've got something that's out there with it. At some point, we may try to see if we can put together some sort of like gallery or list of people who actually have shipped apps with it, because it's always cool to be able to point people to it and say, look, here's a bunch of people that are actually shipped successfully with this. So if you've got something like that, and you've got links or repos or whatever you can share, feel free to drop them in the Discord, because like I said, at some point we're going to be looking to collect those types of things, um, just as a way of kind of showing them off and proving that, yeah, this is kind of an awesome little setup to be able to go through and do. And in my opinion, and I'm biased, it is the best. So with that, I will tell everybody happy coding. See everyone next time.